Hello and welcome to virtualtraining.us. My name is Devin Gandhi. In today's lesson, we are going to go over a concept called Inter-Vlan routing. What is Inter-Vlan routing? Inter-Vlan routing is a capability to route traffic between multiple VLANs. The topology we are going to use in the tutorial has four different VLAN on a Cisco 2950 switch. Switch is connected to 1841 router, and we want to allow the traffic to flow between the VLAN 10, 20, 30, and 40. So in the part 1 of the video, we're going to go over how to configure Cisco 2950 switch from scratch. In part 2, we will configure the Cisco 1841 router as a router on a stick. And then in part 3, we will configure the optional item, which are good but not required. We will also go over some show command. So let's go ahead and get started with the Cisco 2950 switch. So as you can see in the topology, I have four different VLAN. The management VLAN being VLAN 10, server farm is VLAN 20, the regular end user are on VLAN 30, and the specialized user, which needs more security, are on VLAN 40. And they all have a different subnet assigned to them. So basically, management VLAN has the subnet of 192.168.10. Server farm is on 20, regular users are on 30, and then HR user on 40. So having done it this way, so what this allows you to do, so down the road, if you decide to have a access list that will block any regular user from accessing the HR, then having them on a separate VLAN allows you to do that basically. So what I have done is I just basically divided this 24 port switch into a different VLAN. So I'm assigning port 1 through 14 on VLAN 30, which are just regular user, port 15 through 20 on VLAN 40, which are going to be a specialized HR user, and then VLAN 20 is going to have a port 21 to 23, which is going to be the server farm. And then port number 24 is just a uplink port going to the this 1841 router. So in this tutorial, we're going to go ahead and in part 1 configure the switch. So basically, we're going to assign the host name, configure the service options, create a local username and password database, configure the date and time, configure the console and telnet access, configure DNS and name servers, create a VLAN database, shut down the SVI1, which is a default switch virtual interface that comes with the switch. Create the management SVI, which is going to be on VLAN 10. Then we're going to add the port to the VLANs, configure the trunk to the router. So port number 24 is going to be trunk connecting to the router, and then configure the routing. So let's get started. As you can see, the switch is completely wiped clean, and it's asking if you want to go ahead and do initial configuration. I'm going to go ahead and say no. So the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and assign the host name. So I'm just going to say config t host name. I'm just going to call it data switch 01. Configure the service option. The service option is going to be like like a password encryption, stuff like that. So I'm going to say service password encryption, service timestamp, log, date and time, show time, local time, service timestamp, debug. Next thing I'm going to do is enable the set the enable secret password. I'm just going to call it Cisco 123. So that part's done. The next thing we're going to do is create a local username in a password database. So I'm just going to call it username as in Cisco privilege 15 secret Cisco 123. So this is a local username and password database been created. Configure date and time. So I'm gonna do clock summertime CST being a central time zone, recurring clock time zone CST -6. Next thing we're going to do is go ahead and assign the NTP server name. Well, I don't have a local NTP server, so I'm just going to use the public NTP server. So I'm just going to say NTP server is going to be that. The next thing we're going to do is go ahead and configure the remote telnet access. So let's do line console 0. Password is going to be just Cisco 123. Login, synchronize, and exact timeout 5 minutes. Now let's do line VTY 015. Same thing again, password Cisco 123. Login, synchronize, exact timeout 5 minutes. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is go ahead and add the DNS and name server. So let's do IP name servers. I'm going to use the public facing servers, so 8888 and 8.8.4.4, and IP domain name is going to be cisco.com. So far we've configured the host name, did some service options, created a user database, configured the date and time, configure the console and telnet access, and configure the DNS and name server. Now we're going to go ahead and create the VLAN database. So basically we're going to have to create 4 different VLANs. So let's do VLAN 10, and I'm going to call it management VLAN. Then we're going to do VLAN 20. It's going to be, name's going to be server farm VLAN. VLAN 30. Name is and users, and VLAN 40 is going to be HR users. So now if you do show VLAN, we should have 4 different VLANs right there. VLAN 10, VLAN 20, VLAN 30, and VLAN 40. So we have 4 different VLANs now, but we don't have any port assigned to them, so which we're gonna do next. If you look right here, we have port 1 through 14 for VLAN 30, So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go here and do config t interface range. Let's do FA01 through 14. You have to have a space in between. Switch port access VLAN 30. Switch port mode access spanning tree port fast, and let's do no shutdown. Now we're going to do the same thing with the other one. That's going to be 15 through 20. Switch port access VLAN 40. Switch port mode access spanning tree port fast, and let's do no shutdown. And then the last one is 21 to 23, so 21 to 23. That's going to be 20. So the next thing we're going to do is going to shut down the SVI1. So interface VLAN 1, no IP address, and shut down. Now we're going to do interface VLAN 10, and then we're going to go ahead and assign the IP address of 10.168. Let's do IP address of 192.168 10 dot, let's just do 245 255.255.255.0. No IP redirect, no IP unreachable. So let's go ahead and save the config. Copy, run, start. Okay, so a couple of things left to do. One is to create a trunk port for the router. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and to config t interface FA024 switch port mode trunk. Now normally on some of the newer type of switch you would also type in switch port trunk encapsulation .1q, but this 2950 only supported .1q, so even if you type that command, it's probably going to error out. So let's try it. So it doesn't actually let you go further because that's all it supports. So, and let's do no shutdown, and we'll also do a description to Cisco router. So trunk has been done. And the last thing we want to do is go ahead and set the default gateway. So I'll set up a default gateway with the management VLAN. So IP default gateway is 192. I think it was 192.168.10. Okay, so 192.168.10.254. Because that's what's going to the IP address for my VLAN 10 going to be as a default router. So basically, we've done configuring the switch. Let's just verify it. Let's do copy, run, start. And let's do show run. So we have so as you can see, the port 1 through that's 15 should be the or probably 14, yeah, going to be VLAN 30. 15 is VLAN 40. 15 through 20 VLAN 40, and then 21 through 23 is VLAN 20. And this one also has a 2 gigabit port, which I'm not going to configure them right now. Port 24 has been configured as a trunk port for the Cisco router. So I think we're good as far as the switch configuration is concerned. Okay, so on my second video, I will go ahead and configure the router on a stick. So come back and watch the video part 2 of this 3-part series. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.